Welcome to the Unstoppable Pursuit Podcast, where we're pushing the limits in business, life, and health. And today, it's episode 44, and we're talking about the art of the start. My name's Brian Benson. Next to me on my right-hand side, well, he once ate tree bark for the health benefits, if there is any. And on my left-hand side is our very, very special guest, Sebastian Mancera. He owns Juice Elation. He is making some prime, freshly squeezed, cold press made, handmade every day Juice Elation. You're going to want to check it out. Like him on Facebook, like him on Instagram. We're so happy to have him here, a true entrepreneur, somebody who's been through it all, and that's why we brought him on for this episode. It's so important, and honestly, this episode right here is so unique for the listeners because you're hearing 3 stories of true people who are pushing themselves every single day. We aren't where we want to be. We're working our asses off to get there, and it's a hell of a ride so far. So
I kind of almost felt like you were doing like the real world, true story, 7 strangers
live in
a house. You know?
Man, oh man, I really got into that, didn't I?
Yeah.
No, tequila. All right, Mike, why don't you dominate our day with your book, and then we're going to get right into it. Into the art of the start, man.
All right, here we go. It all starts with a belief. The foundation of anything special or worth having is a belief that your goals, your aspirations, or your vision will come to fruition. Believing in something not yet seen is strong, courageous, and contagious to others. Hard work doesn't always equal immediate success, though. In fact, your journey is guaranteed to be filled with many failures and struggles. Through those trials, however, your vision becomes clear. You become more efficient and a master of your craft. You don't learn a whole lot through the peaks, but through the valleys, the adversity, and the challenges that come your way. Life has no room for negativity, only room for positivity. Believe you are worth it. Believe you are different. And lastly, believe you can make a difference by bringing something special to this world.
Hell yeah. Woo! All right. Sebastian, go into your journey a little bit. You know, the overall topic here is the art of the start. And, you know, when did you decide to really start, and how was it? What was difficult about it? I mean, go through because your story's unique, and I want to hear about it and how you really got to where you are.
Well, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Michael, first and foremost.
Of course, brother.
I appreciate you guys having me on here and giving me a little outlet to kind of just unload a lot of the stuff that I've had, on my chest and on my mind for the last 3 years now. We've been in this struggle.
This
me
is
and
your
my
therapy
partner.
session.
Yeah, right. All right.
I should get it down. That's what we like. Let it rip.
I love it. But anyways, yeah. So it's been a really, like you said, man. The journey. It's taken a little while to love it. The beginning, the change is hard. Definitely is. What happened with me was the biggest change that happened in my life before my business even was the change that I had with my diet and my lifestyle. Mm-hmm. And I graduated college and I worked in New York City selling alarm systems door to door. I was eating a lot of corner store food, pizza of course, and you're in that Big Apple.
Who doesn't love New York pizza off the corner? Yeah. Gotta be honest on that.
Yeah, but maybe not 3 times a day every day exactly. For a week. That definitely is not good. So that kind of coupled with a lot of my girlfriend at the time, she introduced me to veganism, which at that time I thought that was extraterrestrial language. Yeah. I couldn't understand, how you can't eat meat. It just doesn't make sense.
Sounds like science.
I was more.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's a different episode.
Yeah, right. So it was definitely way out there for me, and that's again going back to the change thing, because when something's so crazy to you at first, and so wild and just out there, that everybody around you is like just blown away by what is coming out of your mouth and who you are nowadays. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get there. It definitely is. But after, when you see all that change and like when it comes to fruition, it's amazing. So going back to my beginnings and my change, I moved back down to Florida after I did that. I was probably weighing in at 100 upper 180s, and it kind of slipped by me. I didn't really notice anything. My mom always would mess around and say, that I'm getting a little bit big and yada yada. But she always kind of said that. I was never, it was either too skinny or too fat. So it was like never, so I never really paid attention to her. But it wasn't until, my girlfriend at the time and like some close people around me started like to saying a couple things that I really hit home. And at the same time, it's all crazy how this happens, because at that same moment, in that same span of time, I was selling Medicare insurance, life insurance, and long-term care insurance here in Southwest Florida. Which, if anybody knows what long-term care insurance is, I'm sorry if you do, because it's one of the worst things to know about. Basically, it's selling people an insurance that's it tells them that they're basically doomed. They're gonna be in a wheelchair or disabled, and instead of having your family the burden of taking care of you, here's an insurance that you can use to pay for your expenses and whatnot, right? Of course, Medicare and life insurance too. And so just by being in that industry and kind of seeing my clientele, out of every 10 clients that I would see, 7, 8 of them had the same exact health issues, taking the same prescriptions, and having the same kind of like lifespan and all this stuff. So so at that time when all those things were going on in my life, my own health has slipped away. I was working in this industry where I was not really being a part of the solution, but just kind of putting the band-aids on it and, taking advantage of the situation. So when that happened, I started doing my own research, which is another thing about change, is it's not going to come from anybody else. No one else is going to like take your hand and say, here's this, here's that. And the thing is, I had people do that to me. My girlfriend and my friends, and they were like, here, read this, watch this. You shouldn't be eating all that meat. You shouldn't be eating all this stuff. You shouldn't be, and I'm just like, whatever, but it was.
A horse of water, you can't force it to drink.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's the thing. When I saw my first documentary, it was after I had a good few months with these clients of mine, seeing the same things over again. So I saw this documentary, and I believe it was Food Inc. It was Food Inc.
Okay.
And then Forks Over Knives. Pretty much I saw them back to back. I had like one of those Netflix binge days.
Yeah.
So,
I've been there.
Yeah. So I was like on my couch, like really, worried about all this stuff, and like these things were coming together in my head, and I saw these documentaries, and it was like at that moment I realized like, holy shit, like this is real, And so that's kind of what led me and my girlfriend at the time on our path to starting up this business. So really the change and the hard part about this whole thing was really becoming the brand, me becoming the face of Juicylation. That's what took a lot of time to get to develop, because now, people that know me know that I'm, very cautious of what I ingest, and they know that if I wouldn't ingest it, I wouldn't give it to anybody, That's kind of the mentality we have at Juicylation, always of the utmost quality. And, we're feeding this to our families too. So we want to give everybody the pure goodness. So that's kind of how, I started the Juicylation.
When you first dove into that, I'm gonna get an interviewer asked.
Go ahead, brother.
But my tell me the mindset when you were like watching these Netflix and you said, okay, I feel like I need to make the change, but maybe when you first started, the first few days, were you like, oh shit, I just want a steak or a hot dog, screw this? Like, what really kept pushing you through to follow through when you first started?
Well, it's funny because
should I say this or should I not say this?
No, well, when I first started, obviously having a girlfriend that is completely that way.
Yeah.
And once I committed to saying, once I made the mistake of saying, okay, I'm doing it, then it was like free, free reign on getting on my ass every time that I want. So that helped. But at the same time, the mindset was like, change is slow,
Yeah.
And as long as like I try my hardest to continue the path that I have chosen for myself, sure. Like I gotta tell you a funny story about that. So I had gone without eating any meat or any fast food or any processed food or any meat for like. It was now like 6 months, and we were just in the thick of the business. Like we were in the very beginning stages. We're juicing. We're on like 12 hours of juicing nonstop, for the next day.
And this was out of your house.
Well, no. At this point, we were actually renting a kitchen.
Okay.
And we we had some space there.
Don't mind me, guys.
No, go ahead.
It's getting ripped over here.
But
I'm still listening.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers.
Yes.
Cheers.
But because at the time I wasn't really that happy. This was a very long day.
Yeah.
Didn't really eat. Didn't really get a chance to eat. So I'm starving. And we're on the way home. And at the time I still lived in Cape Coral, and we were coming down to Naples because that's where the kitchen was. So it was still a long trek home. So we finished up, pretty late in the night, 2 in the morning or something. And we're heading home. And like I'm going 41 all the way up to Cape Coral. I go the bridge that goes from downtown. Well, there's a Taco Bell like on the right-hand side,
you go.
a little bit south. All right, so I'm coming up to it. I passed all the way on 41. There's hundreds of fast food places.
Yeah.
I held out all the way. I pulled into Taco Bell, okay, and I'm like about to pull into the drive-thru, and my partner was next to me. She was sleeping. So as soon as I get to the drive-thru, and the lady's like, "Hello, yes, welcome to Taco Bell." Of course, she wakes up. The whole time I'm like hoping she doesn't wake up. Don't wake up, don't wake up, don't wake up. And of course, sure enough, welcome to Taco Bell. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, fuck. Not even say the word. I just pulled away. I just drove out of there. I was like, you're right. So that's the whole thing.
God.
Like,
the accountability though.
Well, yeah.
Nothing. I just needed some napkins. I just
I was
needed
eating
some
this
hot
banana and I got like 30.
I just need packets of ketchup. Oh
awesome.
my God, yeah.
But yeah, the whole point is, the accountability and like also, it's hard,
Yeah.
It's hard. That's the whole. The art of the start is you have to be prepared for those hard times.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be prepared to, not be let down, but just like go through the motions and go through the times where you almost ate that, and that goes against what we believe in. So it's like it wasn't authentic, but we just we slipped up, and we can't like also feel guilty for it either. Just have to learn from it. And say, and then from then on, and then I didn't even do it then, and guess what? I haven't ever after. I didn't at all.
Yeah.
So my 6 months turned into 2 years or whatever it is.
And it goes to show you, we all have a common denominator in us, in that, we are going to fall off the map or be tempted to fall off the map or fail or whatnot. And it happens, you know what I mean? But in that case, it didn't happen. He was able to build upon that. And remember, now it's like the temptation's probably not even there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because you look back
You're
on
right.
that and you're like, dude, like, yeah, what was I even thinking? You know what I mean? You learn from that. And now it's like, your goal is so much bigger than like falling off the map for something shitty like that.
And it's like anything, like just like in weightlifting, any kind of sport, anything. It's like the discipline. That's what it is. It just boils down to that. So in business too, the way I equate giving it to that taco at Taco Bell is like the way I equate to putting off something for the next day when I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And how I feel the next day when I do put things off. I feel, it's like not a good thing. So you get frustrated enough after so many of those times, you say, you know what, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah.
And you just don't because, over so many times, it takes the discipline and takes like time of feeling like what it feels like to not like, do what you say or whatever, be aligned with that.
Yeah.
And then, soon enough, you just get in that zone. So it's the mindset it's the discipline, definitely. And knowing also that, like, you are human too, man. You can't just, like, say you're just going to be a robot from now on and, everything's going to work out.
We all can't be a machine like Brian. Now that he's doing his fight training.
I busted my shins.
He's like a man-child now.
Hold on,
the alcohol's numbing the pain.
Yeah, exactly. No, but you know what? It's so true in anything that you do in life, whether you're getting healthy and lifting, whether you're building a business, whether you're building relationships with people. It does come down to that discipline to understand that, like, if you do it correctly each and every time, like, eventually, it's a pain pleasure thing, right? It now is more painful for you to go eat that taco than it is for you to
that's
not.
A good
You
point.
know what I mean?
That's a great thing.
You've totally changed your mindset, and I think a lot of people need to understand that pain versus pleasure, because people do things for two different reasons. Why? It's like they're either doing it for pleasure or they're getting away from pain. So that's something that I really learned right there, and the light bulb sort of went off. It's like, oh, okay, he just switched his mindset to say, look, it's going to be more painful if I eat this freaking taco than if I don't. So now it's more pleasurable to just drive by Taco Bell and slang the juice.
And I'm a prime example because, like, we do have our cheat meals on occasion, I'll be honest, but
I think
there
it's
are
healthy.
It is, but, for your sanity, but there's a lot of times where, like, I know I don't deserve a cheat meal, I'm not there. Right. And Lindsay will be like, well, let's go and eat this. And I'll be like, honestly, I don't even want to feel that way afterwards.
Yeah, I know.
So, like, I try not to forget how I felt in that very moment when I was in that low. And I use that to be like, no, I know how I'm going to feel. And that pain, I don't want to feel that compared to the pleasure of sticking to something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the next day you wake up and you're like, damn, I feel way better than...
Damn, Daniel.
Damn,
I feel good. You know what I mean?
And then, like, tying it into, like, the business, too, once we kind of transition into that, we couldn't settle for, again, once you reach that level, you just don't want to settle. And then, you also want to share with everybody else, and you want to uplift everybody else around you. So you want to share the information, you want to share the product, and that's how Juicellation came about, because we just weren't satisfied with the options around, and so we created it. And with the whole intent, the whole thought was to bring people what we wanted, which was organic, pure, cold pressed, locally sourced juices, and vegan, organic vegan meals, and just things like that. That doesn't mean you have to be vegan to come in. It's okay. Don't have to be vegan.
I'm not, and I love this stuff.
But every teach their own. But at least people know, like, based on us, that when they come in there, they're gonna get a 100% organic, plant-based meal or juice, and everything's made fresh right there from scratch. And so that's a cool thing too, because once you're so passionate about something, all the obstacles they kind of find their way to peel away, if you just keep at it.
Yeah, and take it from me, I walked into Sebastian's store and I had a raw piece of filet mignon, and he still let me in there and drink my juice. So he's not against people that eat meat. Let's just make that clear.
It was like eating the meat
That's
as he was
his
talking.
Personal thing, But yeah, hit up his store though, because it's a cool vibe in there. Very chill. Brian and I went in there and we hung out for a little while, and we were just vibing out in there, just having good conversation. So if you're in Southwest Florida, definitely stop in.
Yeah, definitely. And so I kind of want to move into, like, I love that idea of passion driving you through some of that, the more difficult times, because you're always going to have dips, and sort of like Mike's reading, like there's peaks and valleys. So let's move into like the why is starting so hard to do? That's the question, because a lot of people say, there's a lot of people that we hear in our audience and others that say, oh, I want to start this idea, or I want to make this happen, or I want to, create this business. When you were like, I'm getting healthy and I want to create this into a business, why was it starting so hard to do? Because I think that it takes a lot of, because like, how did you know, people are going to buy this, or, how do I even price this? And, you start getting, like, questioning yourself, like, is this just a lifestyle, or is this a business? So what was the hardest part there for you, and how did you keep pushing through?
Well, for one, I've never had any education on business. I never took business classes or anything. Management classes, accounting classes. I was horrible at those things, didn't like any of it.
We never showed up to ours either. So don't worry about it.
No, I'll tell you, the one accounting class I did show up to, my buddy farted in the middle of the class the first day, and I started laughing so hard I got kicked out, I couldn't go back.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow.
The art of the fart, all right.
But go on, though.
But yeah, that's... So just right off the bat, owning a business, you have to wear a lot of hats. So that was the one thing that's difficult for me. My strengths are in like relationship building, and sales, and customer service, and of course the grunt work. I'm a hard worker, so that's just what I do. Yeah. But besides that, the difficulties were besides that, right? Besides accounting and
besides
all those other
there's a lot to a business.
Besides everything that like maybe a typical professor would probably tell you in a college class.
Wait, you mean I can't just like make juice and like go on the corner and sell it to people? Like, I wish that's
like what I started doing actually. Yeah. Everything else fell into place, but no, really, that's like besides that, the difficulties were of course the finances. A lot of times when you're starting a business. Well, when I started my business, I had finished up selling the insurance, and I had a little bit of money saved up from that. But bottom line was I was unhappy. Like I didn't want to do another day there. Knowing now that I had an actual vision, an actual dream, and a goal, I knew that I couldn't do one more day there, no matter how much of the money I needed to start and all that. So I kind of never let that get in the way of like blocking me or stopping me, but it always was a thing. Like, okay, funding, of course, you gotta. It's obviously any business has to tackle funding, and if you don't have just tons of money, saved up or whatever, or easy access to capital, then it can be kind of daunting to especially when you go to rack up your costs on startup costs. You have to start up everything from every pen and every paper, so the list gets big. So I think the hardest part for us at first was trying to figure out how we were going to do the funding, and it was always something that in the beginning was in the back of my mind, and sometimes I would it would overshadow like the stuff I was trying to do to get the business going. Because you're gonna get those thoughts, and you get that other person in your ear that says, you know, well, where are you gonna get $30,000? You know, how are you gonna do that? And so you use, you know, a third of that funding you have, but great, what are you gonna do when you run out of that? You know, and like, so I think just kind of sticking with the plan, but also you coming up with a plan to get funding for sure. And like you told me, actually, was really what I did. The 3 F's: fools, friends, and what was the third one?
Family, fools, and friends, baby.
Brian and his initials. He has 3 initials every episode, and they stand for something.
3 F's, baby. Family, fools, and friends.
But also, and for my mom, I have to, obviously, I'm gonna buy her house, so I'm gonna settle that account easily. But the point is,
awesome.
you know, I couldn't get here without her, definitely, and a lot of my friends and family helped me along the way. But, sorry, man. Back to what was I saying again?
No, I mean we were just you were just going through like all the dauntingness of how.
So
hard
even with the funding issue, what ended up happening was, you know, we were looking around for some money and stuff and trying to ask around, but we kept working.
Yeah.
See,
right.
Here's the thing. You know, even though we didn't know when and where, we still kept working as if we had it. We still kept buying things. We still kept kind of going out on the limb, just because we had a faith and we knew it was going to come somehow, right? And so by doing that, others around us kind of believed in us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they saw like, you know, we're not just some kids asking for a little loan and like, you know, we think we're going to get it figured out. No, they saw like we were actually doing the farmers markets. We were doing this. We were juicing, you know, 12 hours with smaller machines straight. I mean, people saw this, and then my friends and family, mom and stuff, you know, they made it happen, you know? And so that's the cool thing about it is like, sometimes not knowing where it's going to come is kind of the fun part. It's like, okay, I know it's coming, but I don't know where exactly yet. But on the way, it's going to happen because I'm still going to do the things. And look, by us doing that, people saw that and they were like, you know what? I believe in that now, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's cool. And another thing too is, I remember, you know, I never would ask, like, I didn't want to ask for money and stuff at first. You know, I always wait till the last second, you know? Because it's just like, I'm trying to, like, you know, like going against what I just said.
You were squeezing the last drop out of that.
They're like, well, when's it due? And you're like a week ago.
Exactly. Like I was waiting before the final late, you know, but no, and that's...
I love that.
But I think, you know, that's why I always, like, when I talk to people too that ask me like, well, where'd you get all the money? Where'd you get all this and stuff? Because that's like, obviously, I feel like that's one of the main things in people's minds when they're like thinking about starting their business. And I just, like what happened to me, you know, it could happen to anybody too, and you'll never know where the money could come from too. You never know, you know. It could be, you could scratch off, win $5,000, you needed $3,500 for your startup capital, boom, there you go. Yeah. But you have a plan in place. Yeah. A lot of times it's like, I forget who said it, but like people are asking for money, but they don't have a plan. Yeah. You know? We kind of like worked out the kinks while we were still struggling, trying to figure it out, and then people came to us and were like, look, you know, here.
Which is what we talk about. So sometimes you just have to start.
Yeah.
And figure it out along the way. Because if you were to wait for the perfect moment, who knows how long that would be until someone came to you and said, oh, I'd love to give you some money for your business. That could be never.
Yeah. I know.
You know what I mean?
You're
it could be never. No one ever. And, you know, so some people may say, well, at first they may say, well, money, you know, that's not that big of a deal if you're really passionate about it. I don't know, man. Yeah. Money makes the world go around. Well, profit loss, like you do need some money to get going.
Yeah, and what I love about your story too is like just how much of the hustle you kept going through, and you did like the ready fire.
Here we go.
The ready fire.
RFA.
The ready fire aim approach, where you fired, you went out, you were hustling, you were juicing all night, you were going to the farmers markets, you were doing all these things. And then it eventually led to, like, this is aimed now at who can fund us, and we have a strategic plan in place. We're selling this stuff. It's working, like, and that was how you kind of got through some of those hurdles about starting and stuff.
Totally. Another thing, too, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
Just to go into that, because if you see this now and you're like, oh yeah, you started out, great job, you know, looks good, but really no, the first thing we sold out of, we just bought little mason jars at, you know, Walmart,
really?
and we slapped on a little
story right,
you know, address label on it, you know. But the point is, like, yeah, that's not like the, you know, my vision of my final product, but I didn't have but the money to buy that. And you know, at the same time, it's all about, like you said, starting, man. Just go.
It's
you know,
not going to be
Don't-
perfect.
You don't need like, seriously, you know how many people would sit there and be like, man, but I need a really good bottle with a 6 sticker on it and all this stuff.
Before I can even.
And it's like, before I can even go. It's like, dude, no, you don't. Go to freaking Walmart, buy the freaking mason jars, fill it with the juice, and sell that shit. Like, dude, like, what the hell?
It can be done.
People tend to probably overcomplicate it a little bit because they're so passionate about it that they want it to be perfect from the beginning.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that if you don't have a lot of money, then you have to maybe sacrifice on some things like, oh, you know, we're going to work on this, but we'll let the bottle slide for now. We'll upgrade the bottles down the road. It's like prioritizing. You know, do you got an acronym or something for that?
No. It's
a good one, though.
No, but it's a good idea. Like, Mike, when you were writing your book, like, you weren't thinking, you know, I think you took a lot of time. It took you a while to write this book, but I mean, like, it didn't come to fruition, like, immediately. Like, you wrote how many blogs before you wrote this book?
Yeah, and Facebook posts too, because a lot of what I posted on Facebook, I took some of that content and transferred it over here. But like beginning to end, I bet you I went through my book guy in Tennessee, him and I, thousands of emails. I bet you he sent me 50 PDF versions of that before we finally got to where I was like, you know what? This is what I want. We went through like 5 titles.
Yeah.
You know, I loved my first title. You know, it was something really lame, dude. But I was obsessed with it.
What was it again?
It was going to be called something like The Real Deal Daily Devotional, The Truth About Health and Wellness.
That sounds like a real true life.
Yeah. You know, but then my author or my editor, my book guy was like, no, man, he actually came up with Dominate Your Day. He goes, what do you say a lot? I say dominate. He goes, dominate your day. He wrote me an email back. I said, done. But 50 versions later, here we are.
But what I'm saying is, like, you went through all these versions, but yet you were still taking action and starting by putting your content out there on a continuous basis. You were writing for newspaper, you were writing for, like, all that stuff turned into this book. Mm-hmm. But you didn't wait to say, I need to write this amazing book first, you know, and then
I would just sit down and like every couple of days I'd jot out a couple pages. Yeah. And I kept that up for like 2.5 years, essentially. Yeah. I just was like, I don't know what it's going to turn out like, and I didn't have the money at the time either. Like, I would not have been able to write this book unless I sold my house and made a substantial profit. Like, when I was writing this book, dude, I was broke as a joke, man. Like, I was paycheck to paycheck, and I would have never been able to write that book unless I actually made the moves and decided, you know what, I'm going to give up my house, trade in my truck, and so I sold all my furniture and everything like that, and took all the profit, wrote the book, you know, did some other things.
What made you? What was that defining moment or that aha moment when you knew, like, look, it's do or die. Like, I could stay in this house, I could keep my car, because you could have still had all that stuff.
I miss it. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
But what hit you that made you be like, okay, it's time to sell all that stuff? Like, what was that aha moment for you?
For me, I would say I was in that job that I was in, and I was making great money, and everything was great. And I knew I was making way more than other people in the same field in similar positions. I knew I had it good. And I didn't dread going to work, but like, I'd sit in these meetings, dude, these corporate meetings, and I'd sit literally, dude, and it was like an outer body experience. I kid you not. I'm sitting in these meetings, dude, and I'm letting all these people talk, these bigwigs, you know, here in Southwest Florida, and I'm just like, dude, like, this is terrible. Like, I didn't feel like I fit in. Yeah. Like, I'm like, this is what you're doing. This is what you're doing the rest of your life. We're talking about shit that doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
We're wasting our time. We kept going to these same meetings, dude, and like, they talk about the same stuff, and nothing ever came of it. And I'm just like, what are we doing, dude? What are we doing? And I just finally decided, like, I don't want to waste my life. Like, it was a bunch of mediocre people that didn't want to do anything with their life. So I just finally said, I went home the one night and I called up George and I said, dude, let's sell my house. He came over the next day. We sat down, put a price on it. He goes, I need you to hold out on this job though, dude, until I sell your house. I said, I got it, dude. I'm fine. Dude, like a week later, I come home. He comes over to the house. He's like, what's up? I said, you better fucking sell my house, dude, because I just quit my job. He goes, you were supposed to hold on for like another month. I'm like, dude, sell my house, because I put my 2 weeks in. So sell my house. So 30 days later, sold the house, had like 9 full asking price offers. He sold it for 50 grand over appraised value, and I made $116,000 profit.
Damn,
Nice.
dude. Yeah.
Like, and I quit my job before any of that was set in stone. I
Nice.
just said, George, I believe you can sell this house. I am
What
sick of
gave
this
you all
stuff.
that faith that this was going to work out? Or
Dude,
did you
I
not?
just-
Just you believed in yourself so much? Like,
I
where'd the
think
belief
that's what
come
it
from?
was. I just think it was like I was so confident in my own abilities.
Mhm.
It was to the point where I'm like, it's probably not going to work out exactly as I planned, and it sure as hell didn't. But I was so, dude, I believed in myself so much. I just was like, I'm passionate about what I'm doing. I can make this work in some shape or form.
Yeah.
And plus, I didn't want to worry about 10 years down the road looking back thinking, damn, like I should have like tried that a long time ago,
Right.
you know? And I didn't want to have regret. So here we are. So
I think
cheers
that's
to that,
huge,
brother.
man. My partner just said something just to the T of that about believing in yourself is one of the biggest things, because you don't have like much to show for in the beginning. All you have is you,
Yeah.
and so believing in yourself, man, is so. I feel like that's so key to the art of the start as well, because again, you're gonna have all these people telling you, like all the worries and all the fears popping up, and if you believe in yourself that no matter what you can do it, because and you tell yourself like remind yourself why, that always helps too. You can
Yeah,
always
and-
be nice to yourself.
Oh, yeah,
That's-
dude. I mean, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quickly, like your whole business, like even your girlfriend and whatnot, like they all believed in that, right? But like this did not really take form until you bought into yourself 100%. It was
Exactly.
like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Totally.
And now here we are.
Exactly.
But had she kept saying that to you and you didn't believe in it, well then you wouldn't be here. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's so that self-belief, you have to drink your own Kool-Aid, which we talk about
Dude,
all
you
the
gotta
time.
drink your own
Drink
juice.
your own juice, baby.
Yeah.
And
That's
dude,
right.
I
how
do it
many
every day.
times, and you guys probably know, have you just been there laying there at night sometimes, and all of a sudden you start that mind creep comes in, you start going, oh shit, can I really do this? Like, is this really
Totally.
gonna be like what I want it to be? And you start, it's just like anxiety, like out the ass, like.
Lindsay was like, hey, you were talking in your sleep last night. And I was like, oh, what was I saying? She's like, well, it was almost like two different people talking, because the one said, you can't do it, you can't do it. But yes, I can, though, because I believe in myself. And I said,
Oh
oh,
my
don't
God.
mind that.
Don't
That was
mind
just my
that.
fears and my confidence battling it out. You know what I mean? But it's true, though, and that's the thing is, I think that you
Yeah.
truly have to be so confident in your own abilities, because it's not going to mean shit if everyone else believes in you, but you
Yeah.
don't. Like a basketball player.
for
Like
sure.
if Michael Jordan
Totally.
didn't believe in himself, but his teammates did, well, Michael Jordan would have never been Michael Jordan.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
He had to believe in himself. I mean, he was cocky, he was confident, and he got it done.
Yeah. No, I think
And a lot of times too, people don't believe in you until they see results too.
yeah.
So until you have something to show,
That's right.
unfortunately,
Skin in the game.
it's exactly. Until you have your skin in the game, people will be like, oh, well, okay, wow, he's doing something. That's good. Good for him. Before it's like, oh, he's crazy. He's jumping on a limb. Well, he's got
That's
no
right.
money. He's got no this. How's he gonna sell juice? What?
Right.
What the heck? You know.
Yeah.
So, but it's funny, man. It's
When those moments, when you have that mind creep or that imposter syndrome before you started this, like, when you were fully in going, I'm gonna, this is what we're gonna do,
Mhm.
and then you lay down at night and you went, oh fuck, did I make the wrong decision? Should I have stayed in the insurance business, stuffing my pie hole with meat? Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah, many times. Yeah. Like that
but
Taco
what
Bell
was
night.
it? Yeah, like, but
Well, okay, so I got to answer right now because it's been popping up more recently. It's like you get to the point where you're just so frustrated of the same. Like if you make a mistake, right, and you don't necessarily fix it right then and there. Like we procrastinate. I'm a big procrastinator, so that's one of my things I've had to work hard to get over. But you just make this, like, I've had those moments, man. I'll tell you. This one time I was we had this one little machine called a Norwalk. It's about this big. And it's like the only in the original like home cold press juicer. It was invented in like the 1930s. It's a 2-step juicer in there, so you shred it over here and then you fold this little bag it comes with and you press it on the other side of the machine. Well, these bags, man, like they're a pain in the ass because over time they get like they don't juice as well because like they just get, as much as you clean them and stuff, they just of so much juice going through them that they block up a little bit, right? So we had I remember this one night we had to juice for 2 markets and some deliveries or cleanses. So we had to do like a ridiculous amount of juice at a time with what we had. So we were juicing there for 12 hours. And when we got towards the end of it, like the last few hours, the bag was so, backed up basically that the machine wasn't pressing it. So I had to actually, with my hands, press it manually. Because if I didn't, we would lose at least 50% product that would stay in the bag. So at the end of this long shift, I'm having to squeeze these freaking bags. And I'm the only one that can do it because I got a little strength on me. I was working out,
Drinking that Popeye juice.
But still, dude, my hands were so like my wrists, everything, man. It was like I had to finish out the rest of the night trying to squeeze out every last drop of those bags. And of course, dude, at that moment, dude, I was like so fucking pissed off, just like. And you have these thoughts like, what am I doing this for, man? I'm sitting here squeezing a bag. I've been doing here for 11 hours. I'm going to make $20-$30 on this. I mean, what is it for? And at the same time, man, like, it's going to naturally come up. But at the same time, man, I'm also frustrated. Like, I've had so much frustrations where I'm at that I decide that I'm going to not do that again. I'm not going to. So I'm going to continue this because one day I'm going to look back on that and say, that was hilarious. That was hilarious. Like, I sat there and I was like, praying to the juice gods, man. Like, why did you forsake me? Like, why have you forsaken me? Like, but of course, in the moment, man, you're very upset. It sucks, and everything. But at the end of the day, you have to keep in mind, like, what your ultimate purpose or ultimate goal is. Like, are you happy with where you are? No, obviously I'm not, because I'm ringing these bags. Why am I ringing these bags? I got to keep working a little harder to get a bigger machine here very soon, and I'm going to do anything I can to get that bigger machine as fast as possible, because Lord knows I do not want to be ringing these bags out every single night for the rest of my life. So that's kind of like the mindset is just, again, dude, like, have that in the back of your mind always of what your goals are, but know that it's going to be hard, man. Things aren't going to go right. The bags aren't going to press right, You're going to have to spend an extra 3 hours doing that. But always, like, keep that in the back of the mind. And I think that's what's helped me. Because I'll tell you, that's not the first time that I've, thought about quitting, many times.
Yeah.
But you bring yourself out of it because your goals, your purpose really is stronger and greater than that one little thing,
being
And that's really
by one little moment or something, I like to think that a lot of entrepreneurs, we are working way more for less money initially, so eventually someday we can work less for more money.
Sure.
Not to say that like our work ethic is going to drop off the railing someday when we're extremely wealthy, but it's just we will have more freedom to do things that we might not be able to do early on in the journey. You know what I mean? You're good with your little RFAs, BFCs. I try to bust out the quotes and whatnot.
No, I love it, man.
Entrepreneurship is living, like most won't or most can't. So I don't know how the quote goes.
How much tequila this guy has? Oh, man. Every time I meet a guy, this kid can't get a quote right. Oh my God.
That's funny. I forgot that quote. What is the quote? Entrepreneurship is living your life like most people won't, so you can live your life like most people can.
Yeah, you got it. You got
myself. There you go. Get off me, Brian.
I'll edit that part out. No, I'm kidding. But no,
I started staring over at me and I got nervous, dude. You did this, you did one of these,
I started sweating because I'm like, stop it, I gotta get the quote right. Oh my God. No, but that is so true, because how many people have had that squeezing the bag moment, where you're really sitting there. I mean, how many times have we, like, I can't tell you in just my editing stuff, like, oh my God, I screwed up the sound, or, oh dude, I forgot to turn the video camera on. I mean, like, dude, there's so many times where I've just been like, why am I doing this? I'm not going to make $1 million, so why the hell am I even doing this? I could go work at anywhere else and be making more money than I am right now.
Managers at Wendy's make like $70,000.
They're making a lot more than I'm making, and I mean, like, but I'm just sitting there going, dude, I'm not ready to, like, give up, because I know I'm gonna be able to make a lot more. But man, oh man, is it hard when you have a lot of your friends and other influences making a lot more money than you are, doing other things, like, and you start sitting there like, why did I start this? Why did I even do this? This is stupid. My hands are killing me. I feel like shit. This isn't going to work. And then you start but that's the whole art of the start, is like, you just have to be able to push through those moments of, when it feels like it's the hardest. And this always goes back to like the miner and stuff. When things are the hardest, the person who usually crawls out of the ditch, is the winner. Many people think about, I want to start a business, but once they start like getting into the trenches and doing that kind of hard work, they give up and they quit and they say, nah, it wasn't worth it. I can, and that's why there's a lot of less employers, or less employers than there are employees, So I mean,
that quote by Gary Vaynerchuk, Brian.
Which one?
Eat shit for 2 years,
Yeah.
eat caviar for life.
That's right. That's right.
Like you have to be willing to sacrifice for a few years till you can really start probably seeing the fruits of your labor.
So we don't have to buy the nips of Patron.
So we can afford the real bottle.
Size, baby.
$7 right
Brian,
here.
thanks for buying these with the change out of your car.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hold on, I think there was some in this cushion too. No, I think I think all this has just been some seriously good information. Do you guys have any kind of closing statements or any sort of, real true advice for the person who has been teetering on, should I leave my corporate job, should I start something, or hey, I've wanted to start this side hustle, but I've been lazy about it. Like, I want to hear your best advice, and we'll start with you, the guest of the show, man. What's your best advice for the art of the start?
Well, the best advice, I guess, would be, if you really, if you're thinking about starting a business or whatever, I guess just really be 100% sure that you're doing what you want, because it's more than a marriage. It's a commitment, and it's gonna commit you 18 out of the 24 hours a day, even more, and just be prepared for it, because if you do love what you're doing and you have a vision and a goal, then I always, and I'm the biggest risk taker, sometimes a little bit too much, but I always say just go for it, man. And again, the caveat is, if you truly do believe and love what you're about to do, or what you're going to do, or what you're going to create, 110% of the time, I always just say, just jump all in. Have a plan, of course, and everything, and really think things out, but understand that it's going to be a long commitment. It's going to be years before you see anything. But again, it's so worth it, because if it's what you love, then you'll wake up every day before your alarm and you'll be ready to do it again. And that's the truth, man.
I love that. More than a marriage, because even in a marriage, like, you can still have guys' night. As an entrepreneur, you're 24/7, baby. There ain't no getting away from that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I like that. That's awesome. You know what I mean?
Almost came out my nose on that one, but that's true.
My thing that I would say, in conjunction with that, I agree 100%. I would say too, and it also depends on your situation, because my advice to everyone is that you do need to be somewhat strategic about it, like you said, have a plan.
Yeah.
For example, for me, I had some things in place. I knew I was going to sell my house at some point in time. I didn't know how long, but it's like if you have a family, and like, you can't just like quit your job, lose your health insurance, and your wife needs the health insurance. She has, an illness or something that needs health insurance. You have kids, like, you still need to, like, that's why the side hustle is big.
Yeah.
Like, I do recommend trying to keep your job as long as you can, and side hustle the shit out of your side hustle until, like, this is your side hustle, and this is your main job, and it's getting really close that you can make a lateral move almost, rather than like just, oh honey, I quit my job and whatnot, and we don't have any money in the bank. Like, it's not realistic.
Yeah.
So strategically.
Yeah. I guess my biggest advice for anybody in the art of the start would be more of the spiritual side of things, but I think it's so important is you got to believe in yourself. You just have got to have that deep, deep belief and faith that things are going to work out, but you got to believe in who you are and what you're doing, and that it's going to make sense and it's going to happen, because without that deep, deep, deep belief in in who you are and what you can accomplish, then I think it's just going to be really hard to make through some of the dips and some of the valleys, because you know, like you said, you may be sitting there squeezing juice for 12 hours straight and you want to be like, F this. But when you believe in yourself, you start to think like, okay, this is going to suck for 12 hours, but tomorrow, like, look, like, it still is progressing forward.
Right, exactly.
And that's coming from a legit place, because personally for me, dude, your transformation personally over the past year, mentally, and your belief in yourself, dude, has been like on steroids. Like sometimes I'm like, I don't know if this is DJ Khaled or if it's Brian Benson. He's constantly saying, I'm the best, like, I'm a winner, and that's good though. You know what I mean? And that's good though, so I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, if I had this confidence back in the day, I could have done some real damage. I'd be
You might be the president of Heidelberg
Who
University.
knows? Oh man, all right, we're gonna get into the challenge and then we'll get into the health tip. The challenge for the day, for everybody, is to start. Take that first step of action, whatever it is. If you want to start a company, if you want to get in shape, whatever it is, hey, look, you don't have to stop the excuses, stop the bullshit. Go get a mason jar, juice at home, and pour it in there. Show up at the farmer's market and hustle. That's it, man. And that's what I love about this guy, and that's why I'm so glad he's here, because really that's the challenge for you guys, is to just start making your dreams come true and push forward and get it done. Mike, hit us with a health tip that's going to get us going here.
I want to do the health tip, and then I do want Sebastian to try to sum up that last question that we have for him.
Oh, for sure.
You know, because I think that's very important, because we shot a video on that, promotional video, a couple of weeks ago on what we would tell our younger selves.
Oh, cool.
He is young. We're old
well,
over
how
here.
Are you?
2026.
Okay, so if your
God.
16-year-old younger version was sitting right here, what would you say to him? So we'll get to
God, I
that.
could say this
So true functional training will help your daily routine and activities, such as picking up your kid or lifting a load of laundry, become easier. This is different for everyone. Just because, and this is what the thing that drives me nuts when you go to the gym, is that people that are like stand on one leg, close their eyes, pick their nose, do a bicep curl, and try to do this all at the same time, and call it functional training. That doesn't cross over into real life because it's just not practical. So just because you stand on one leg on a Bosu ball or other piece of equipment and do a bicep curl doesn't mean it's functional and effective whatsoever and crosses over into your daily life. So ask yourself, when you are in the gym hitting it hard, like with your fighting and stuff, I would say a lot of that is very functional and crosses over into your real life. Probably a lot of the movements that you're doing.
I puked.
So does it cross over into real life and help you? If so, then it is truly functional. And then the thing at the bottom, it says, if you ever wondered, we'll do an ab exercises, give me visible abs. Brian used to always ask me this one. No, doing abs at the gym does not give you visible abs. You get visible abs by eating healthy and combining that with extra lifting and cardiovascular and getting to a low enough body fat percentage so that you can actually see your abs. So you don't necessarily get visible abs from doing crunches. Abs are made in the kitchen, people. You heard that?
Yep.
So now,
10 years.
16-year-old Sebastian sitting over there, and he's mouthing off to you, and he's saying, I got this. I got this.
He had a big mouth, and I'll tell you that. I'd probably go over and punch him.
You smack him first, and then you say...
Well, the way the things are going, this might even happen, so I'm going to say it now. Be wise with your time. That's really, and I'll tell you why it's specific to me, because growing up, I had to be busy. My mom said I'd play my video game for a little bit, but then I'd have to go do another thing. Go outside, shoot hoops for a few minutes, then I'd go ride my bike. So I've always doing something, and sometimes, and even in high school and stuff, I was always doing something, but I was never really focused. Like, I spent a lot of my time doing a bunch of things, and maybe it helped me get here, but I would tell myself to be mindful of that and to really own my time, because I had the spontaneity to get out and do something. Mm-hmm. So if I would have just, and also, time can be stolen from, unnecessary things that you do, to waste time, and time is so valuable. And I learned that so much more now in like this entrepreneurial life, that time is just so important. And like, if I would have just 10 years ago, known that, I think they would, I'd be doing a lot more for sure.
Dude,
That hits
that
home.
is
Brian's big on
badass.
time.
Badass.
Not managing
man.
time, but managing yourself within the time is what he said.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
I love
RFA,
that. I love that. Yeah, RFA. I love that. Own your time. Own
Yeah.
your time.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
badass, man.
Thanks.
So,
Yeah.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We hope you enjoyed this segment. Check out Juice Elation. You're going to want to go there. Follow him on all social platforms. Get to the store if you're in Southwest Florida. They got a really awesome subscription program.
Yes.
You guys are going to want to check them out. I'm telling you, it is incredible. I actually had coffee the other day with somebody who goes, oh, my mom goes there all the time and loves their juice. So everybody's raving about it. It's becoming huge here. So please, please, please check it out if you're in the area. And if you're not, just show some love to them on social media. And we appreciate all of you for hanging out with us. And we will see you all on the next episode.